Welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey toward publication. I'm Rhonda Hagerman, and I write fiction and nonfiction.
I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Christina Catane, and I write in multiple genres, including Christian dystopian fiction.
And I'm Janie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone, today. If you like what we do, remember to like and subscribe below. Also, announcement, starting August 9th, the Christian Indie Writers Podcast is moving to Fridays.
Yay!
So remember, August 9th, we will be live on Fridays, not Thursdays. Okay, so we like to start each episode with a segment called What's Up? So let's check in with everybody and see what's going on in our writing and our personal lives. So, Jennifer, what's going on?
I have had the week, like crazy week. So since we last broadcast, the book has launched, and I have corrected copies.
Yay!
This is the legit corrected copy.
It was fast.
Huh?
It was fast.
Yeah. Ingram Spark does a great job. I'm really impressed with them. You can order them from Amazon as well as an author. I can order author copies, but Ingram Spark, the colors are better. It's a little bit better quality. So that all that rolled into, so that was, all that drama Thursday and then Friday. And then Friday night, my aunt, who is more like another mom or another grandma to me, we had to take her into the emergency room, and the diagnosis is not good. She is 82. She was in a lot of pain, but they're managing her pain now. And someone who was like super healthy to all of a sudden just like boom, go downhill really fast is hard. And other friends that are going through surgeries and other medical things. It's just been a week for me. And on top of that, this is camp meeting week, and my girls are like, "Are we not going because of everything happening?" And of course, the guilt mom me is like, "We'll go. We'll drive down." And so we've been driving, and then I've been like, "Can I just say? I gotta stop for a second and say what a good friend Tina Catane is." Tina has watched my girls for me. Tina doesn't have kids. She has kids, but they're teenagers. She doesn't have to watch anybody. And she has taken on watching my kids so that I can go back to the hospital and I can run back into Flint and do things that I need to do. Here at the campground, she'd take them to the lake, like just things that other people would not do. And I just really appreciate you, Tina. I just really wanted to say
no problem.
So
you're like family.
I agree. Same here. So anyways, so last night, instead of driving back and forth, my husband popped a tent on Tina's lot for me and the girls, and I tented it. And if you know me at all, I'm kind of a princess. So I tented it with my girls last night, just the four of us. Not only that, if you saw last week's online release party, I'm not a fan of bats. And guess what we have a lot of down here? So I'm in a tent, and there's only a sheer piece of fabric between me and what I know is out there. But I did fine.
I should probably not tell you which tree the bats live in then.
No, don't even. Oh, golly, Tina, now I'm guessing. Oh, no.
It's not the one on my site.
Okay, praise Jesus. So anyway, like no makeup, my hair, whatever. We're camping, and so I'm having a great week. So that was a long one.
Do you feel like sleeping kind of in the great outdoors did anything good for you? Because I'm a big believer that if you spend time sleeping outdoors, it can really refresh you and reset your circadian rhythm and all that. Did you appreciate it, or were you like, I'm never doing this again, or what?
I think we're gonna do it again tonight. It was not that bad. It really wasn't that bad. Well, I was fine.
And summertime in Michigan, the evenings get so cool and beautiful for tent camping. You can keep your flaps down and let the nice cross breeze come in. Yeah.
Oh no, we had to have it's so cold. Like we had to have the flaps up, and my girls don't have any meat on them. They have no insulation. So I'm worried all night long. Yeah, I've tried to, but it ended up that my oldest was next to me, and she's the least cuddliest. Like if no one's around, she might cuddle with me, but she's just like, "Mom," and I'm like, "Aren't you cold?" She's like, "Nope." Yeah, so I think we're gonna stay another night, but yeah, it's great. I love being out here. Even letting the girls go to the lake, and I just sit in the shade and just chill out with my friends, and it's just been a really good. I needed it for the past week I've had. I just really needed this downtime. So yeah.
Awesome.
All right. How about you, Jamie?
My life is starting to get really busy, which is a good thing. I really am good at flexing my no muscle, so I know when to say no. But I also have been feeling very like so. When we moved here in September of last year to Florida, we were too late to really get involved with a lot of the homeschool activities and groups that are around. But this year there was no such impairment, so we have signed up for so many fun and awesome things for the kids to do. It's hilarious when people say, "Oh, you homeschool your kids. Aren't you worried they're not going to ever talk to other kids?" And I'm just like, no, I worry that we're not going to spend enough time at home cracking the books because there's so much out there for homeschoolers to do and so many activities. I'm really blessed to be a part of some really cool groups and things that are coming up, which is part of the reason why we had to change the date. So I apologize for those of you who might not like the change to Fridays, but I have to take my kids to a homeschool co-op, which is almost like a day of classes, and that's on Thursdays. So we're making the switch. So that's what's going on with me. What's going on with you, Rhonda?
Oh, well, not a lot of writing, and that's really showing up today in my sprint piece. Um, I was shocked at we've talked about how you keep your brain glowing and then writing gets easier and faster and words just flow so much better. And they already don't flow really naturally for me. And writing the sprint today, I was shocked at how hard it was for me to get words out. And so I need to carve time out. I've been putting 14 to 16-hour days in at my grandma's house. My grandma just passed, and we're cleaning her house out right now. And yesterday I took the day off, and it was the first day since she passed. And well, no, we went up north for 2 days. But anyway, I have not been writing to boil it down, and I need to get back to it. So
It's hard when you go through something like that, though, Rhonda. Like, these are
Yeah.
not things you schedule. Me going to the hospital every day was not on my agenda right during release week. And so you gotta
Mhm.
be whatever God gives you that week, you just gotta be able to do it. And so
Yeah,
sometimes, like I said before, you can't keep all the plates spinning, and some plate is gonna crash, and it can't be your family. So,
yeah, yeah.
um,
And I do feel like God has used me to an extent this week too with some of my family members and encouraging and things like that. So it it's I mean, I need to get back to writing though. So I'm almost done with grandma's house. So Tina, tell us what's going on with you.
Well, I am at camp meeting. We have a camper here in our own little lot that we rent for the season, but we are podcasting today from my daughter's beautiful house. She lives on the campground because she is the program director for the campground, and so this is her back patio. And I want to be one of those mother-in-laws that like moves in, but she doesn't have a baby yet, so I have to wait. Like when the baby comes, it will be like an easy transition to get in here. But camp meeting is my favorite week of the year. I look forward to it every year. But I have to say, last night, my heart got broken because this girl came into the service. It was Wednesday night, so there was a lot of pastors and their families there, and then like they'd bring their extended families, and they get a free dinner and some free activities, and it was just a day to honor pastors on our district. So this girl, I had never seen her before, and I probably will not ever see her again. She sat almost in front of us, and when she walked in, she looked terrified. Just the look on her face. She was dressed all in black, and she had black hair with blue streaks in it that kind of came down over her face. And she was wearing a backpack in the shape, and I don't know if it was a backpack or one of those purses that you wear on your back, but it was in the shape of a coffin. And I think that really just would tell you all you need to know. Because she was with her boyfriend or husband, I don't know which, and she was holding his hand, and she was kind of hiding behind his arm with her head down and her hair hiding her face, and almost had her forehead on his back shoulder. And then she got a little bit more comfortable as the time went on. But my heart, I don't know her name. I don't know anything about her. But I spent that whole service praying for her because I could just see. And I feel like she was I could see her, and I could see the obvious brokenness and fear and whatever else is going on with her. It's like a glaring, glaring out from, this group of church people who looked different. But I wonder how many people she represents that were in that crowd that you couldn't see it on the outside. And that just kept going through my mind through the whole service. But if you think about it, pray for her. I don't know her name, but God does. And I don't know her story, but God does. And I feel like I watched my 16-year-old self walk into church and sit down in front of me. That's how I felt. And I think that's why it broke my heart. That's what's going on.
It was so hard. Like, I wanted to reach out to the girl because I just felt like felt like she was by herself. And I just wanted her to know that, like, whatever Satan is telling you right now, that's not what people are thinking. Like, the people that are right around you want to hug you. Like, we are not judging you. But God just checked me, and I kept praying Tina was praying for the girl. I was praying for the pastor. I was just praying that God would just take his words and it would be what she needed to hear, and there were times that I was kind of like, oh, because I felt like maybe it would be misinterpreted. And then God's like, I got this. You don't worry about, like, I got this. And so, yeah,
And then he told a story about the guy that came to church and it was the 80s. And he was dressed like the lead singer of Poison. And he had like this t-shirt on with like a demon on the front, and how God took him from that and transformed him. And I was thinking, okay, this is either going to completely offend her or be exactly what she needs to hear. But I trust God to give the right message and to get it to the hearts of those who need it. So.
Okay, well, I'm not sure how to transition from that.
I know.
But I will be praying for that girl and your whole camp meeting this week too. But I will tell you something else that God has in his hands. I believe we've all put our careers in his hands. So let's talk about building a platform. Okay. I am hosting today because this is something I know nothing about. I have not studied this at all. And I know that you guys are pretty close to being experts at it, or at least know a whole lot more than I do.
I'm trying to see who she's talking to. There's some kids over there.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, building your platform. What is it and why do you need one? This is going to be the beginning of a series for us. So today let's talk about what not to do. Is that what we're doing?
Well, let's start first with what is a platform.
Okay.
Platform is where you go and stand before you dive into the pool, right?
Yes, that's exactly it. So everybody get your swimsuits on because we're about to teach you. Jamie is about to demonstrate.
But we're obviously not talking about that kind of platform. This is one of those words that, authors throw around with the assumption that the noobiest of noobs is going to know what you're talking about. So when we're talking about a platform, we're actually, if you think about if you're going to display something on a platform, you're lifting it up above everything else so that everybody can get a really good look at it. So when we talk about building your platform, we're talking about getting your face, your brand, your books in front of other people and sort of building up your presence online and sometimes even in real life. And the platform is all of the things that you do to do that. So I hope that I've done a good job explaining what it is.
I think that your little comment about standing on the platform before you dive in the pool is a really good metaphor, though, because that's where some of us are. Like, we are standing on the edge, getting ready to dive in. Jennifer obviously has already dove in. Jamie, you've published 3 books now, right? Am I correct, or is it more?
Yes, I've more or less put my toe in the water.
I'm still trying to get the courage to take my towel off. So
yeah,
that's Ryan too.
Rhonda has ordered blueprints, right? Rhonda's like,
yep.
In the chat, I'm sorry. Maria says, was excited about this topic as this is something I've been trying to do since books started being published. I think that that's a lot of people are, and I think that it's something that I know me, and I want to hear what you guys think too. I heard this from the very first time that I started like looking into, oh, okay, I'm writing, so like I better figure out how to do this. Everywhere I turn, it says, start today. Don't wait on your author platform. Start today. And then everybody has advice on it. But what does that even mean? And so I heard one person put it in a way that I don't know if I 100% agree with this definition, but I think it helps to narrow down, is that your author platform is everywhere that you can promote and sell your brand, your book, that isn't through paid marketing. So that's like the line, right? So Facebook is your platform, but Facebook advertising is not part of your platform. So I mean, that helped me way back then. So I was like, okay, so it's so that people can start to see me. But did you guys ever get that advice that you need to start today? Like, don't wait, like start right today.
Yep.
I've seen it in
Yeah.
other videos and
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, though, you did not take that advice. Right?
I did.
So, I mean, no, not you. I'm saying, like, you just asked the three of us.
Right.
We've heard the advice, start your platform now, but we've all talked about how we haven't really done that. And so I guess, like, why not? And I will say that for me, why I say I dipped my toe is because, like, well, I made an author page on Facebook, and well, you know, I made an author page on Twitter, and I have a website and all that stuff, but I haven't been actively trying to recruit readers. And I will just say, I have a unique situation with my branding and marketing and all of that, to where I don't think that my my work is cohesive enough for me to really reach out to try to find my readership. And so that's kind of been what's been holding me back. But the other thing that's been holding me back is I just don't want to do it. I don't want to market books. I don't want to sell books. And that's a personal hill I have to overcome if I'm ever going to be able to get my books in front of people. But what about the other two of you? Why have you not taken those steps?
Well, I tried. I set up my website and I put a reader magnet on there, or the bait, whatever was. The reader magnet is the nice way to say it, but it's basically offer something for free so that people will sign up to your mailing list, because a mailing list, a email list of people, is one of the biggest things they say you need to have a successful book launch or a successful platform. So I offered a series of stories that went together. It was like almost like a TV series, where if you signed up for a newsletter, then you could get an installment of the story every week. And that kind of fizzled out. I mean, they're still on there. People can still get them. So my website's just kind of sitting there now because my book's not ready. And I have followers. I have over 1,000 followers on Twitter, but they're mostly authors. And I think that's kind of similar to the experience Jennifer has with Twitter. And on Facebook, I have a lot of people following me and saying, when's the book coming out? But there's nothing I can tell them because I'm still struggling through the editing. It's taking a long time, longer than I thought. And I get a really good feedback on Instagram, but that yet again, here I am, and I really I don't know where to go with this platform because I have nothing to offer. My book's not done. So that's mine.
Rhonda?
Well, let me give you a story from real life that happened just this week. I had been very busy all week, and I was overwhelmed because I was starving and I needed to make dinner, and I had forgotten to take anything out of the freezer, and I knew that I needed to take hamburger out because I kind of knew what I wanted to eat. I knew I had to take hamburger out of the freezer. I had to thaw it without ruining it. I had to shake patties out of it. I had to get the grill started. I had to blah, blah, blah. And finally I said, nope, the grocery store is 2 minutes away. And I went and I got pre-made patties, and I had the food cooked and eaten in the time that I had to do all that other stuff. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, if I have something that is plopped in front of me that's easy to understand and plug and play, basically, I'll do it. But if I have all of these steps that I've got to go through that I, first of all, don't know how to do, and second of all, have to keep straight, that is what's keeping me from starting, because I really don't know where I need to start. I don't know where my time is best spent. So I need a plug and play platform.
So maybe this series that we're doing is going to maybe help encourage you to think it's doable. What do you say, Jen?
Yeah, I agree. And I think especially as Rhonda and Tina were talking, I think that what you guys are feeling is where I was a couple years ago. And I feel like that the struggle was I was trying to do what people were telling me to do. People are saying you have to have a platform and you have to do blah, 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 don't wait. So I tried jumping in and tried doing that. But I think that the problem is that you can start too early. This is my personal experience. Your results may vary, but my personal experience was you can start too early. I got my Facebook page. I did Twitter, my Twitter. I did Instagram. I had everything all set up. And then I didn't have anything and then I started a reader group because everyone says, oh, in Facebook, you have to have a group. You can't just have your page. You have to have a page because that is like your business card and you have to have that to do any advertising, but you need to have a group because that's where all the people are going to chat and where you're going to like build your super fans. Right. So I started the group and then, and I'm going to explain in our Facebook episode that we do how I built the group and how I got people into it and how I use the group. But there came a point where I had nothing else to say to them, just like Tina. It was like, okay, I did this way too early. I'm not ready to release anything. I could give them some freebies, but I'm just like dangling it along. And who am I? The only really at the beginning, it's people that just know you that join it. So they're just excited. And then they get in there and realize that there's nothing to be excited about. Yeah, that's how I felt with it. So I think that that's one of the things that we need to talk about is like, what isn't working? So for me, that wasn't working for sure. But I do believe we need to have a platform. I believe in that advice. And the reason is some of the things what you guys were saying, is that you don't know where to start. There's all these things to do. Well, here's the problem is that people, let's say you go to release your book and you advertise. People aren't going to buy because they're only going to have seen it once. Have you guys heard about the rule of 7?
Yeah.
So 7 touches is how I was taught it in college. It takes on average 7 times for people to see things before they finally will say, oh, I need to buy it. And part of that is because of social proof. So another reason why you need to start your platform fairly early is because if you put your book out there and someone sees it and then they're like, who's this, J.R. Nichols? And then they go look and they can't find anything, a Twitter, a Facebook page, a website. They're not going to believe this is an actual legit author that can write well because our mindsets are still kind of on traditionally published, that whole formula. So it's important to have social proof. It's important for the whole 7 touches because right now with Avoiding Esther, I feel like people are getting it stuffed down their throats because they, if they're in my group, they see that I do have a little bit of advertising out there on Facebook. People are posting pictures on Facebook. I've gotten tagged in a couple of Instagram things. If they're on Twitter and they follow me, they're seeing it. So they're seeing it all over the place instead of just one place. So that is happening. But trying to look at my notes real quick too. But the advice that this is what I wanted to get back to when I said earlier what that definition was. The advice that social media is to sell books is a yes and a no thing to me. Yes, you need it to sell books, but you're not going to sell books with your social media. And here's what I mean by that. Nobody is going to, I don't believe, see a post on Twitter and go, oh, that's interesting. I might go look at the book and then buy it. Maybe one person in the history of the book that might happen. But they might see something on Twitter and then the next time they're on Facebook, they would see something and it's part of the 7 touches and part of the social brain. But people that come into this and think, okay, I have to have Twitter and Instagram and Facebook because I'll be able to sell a ton of books on those. It really doesn't, in my experience, happen. And from what I'm hearing from a lot of other authors, it doesn't. But we're going to talk about that more as we continue the series of how to use these different platforms and how to build your platform in order to get books selling. But
So, were we talking today that we were going to talk a little bit about what you should not do? Is that kind of the where we're steering this conversation? I'm sorry, Rhonda.
No.
Duh, we have a host.
No, that's fine, please.
that was my suggestion because I feel like the other topics, if we're going to have a whole episode on Facebook and we're going to have probably a whole episode on maybe like a Pinterest, Instagram combination, and we're for sure going to have a whole episode on newsletters, which is by far the number one platform. That is the most important thing that you need to do. Go ahead, Jamie.
I think also it's important maybe to talk about ads because you
Yeah.
mentioned you had a Facebook ad, so we could have a whole episode about ads and possibly more than one. So this is going to be a
Right.
very deep mine, a well that we're going to mine out here. And so if people are tuning in regularly, hopefully they won't feel like they don't even know how to do step one by the time they're
Right.
finished going through the series with us. So
Right. So I just kind of want to talk a little bit about what I think doesn't work. And again, your results may vary, but, and I also think it depends on genre, but I want to talk a little bit about what my experience has been to try to maybe hopefully save some people some, headache over their next couple of years as they're getting towards their publication time. But I think that for me personally, the number one thing that does not work is Twitter. And I love Twitter. But, so here's the thing that I'm seeing with authors on Twitter right now. You follow me, I'll follow you back. Great. That seems so nice, doesn't it? And so now I have 1,000 followers, you have 1,000 followers, and we're all authors, and no one's going to buy each other's books because you're not my audience. You're my peep. You are my equal. And it's great to use Twitter as a community of writers. And that's what I use it for. I do not expect ever that Twitter is ever going to advance my sales, but it has built relationships with other writers.
So, can I interrupt you though? So,
Yeah.
because I know that even a traditional publisher is going to ask you how many Twitter followers do you have. So, is it just kind of like a bogus thing? Or are they just trying to see that you've done the work to get followers? Like, they can't really be expecting that you're going to sell books to all those thousands of followers, do they? Or do they? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, maybe they're thinking the 7 touches. Maybe that's what they are thinking. I think it's ridiculous to expect an author to have thousands of followers before they will get a book deal. Then again, there's just another thing to add to the pile of why I'm self-published. I do have, I don't know, 1,400 followers, something like that.
Tina, are you trying to say something, Tina? I thought I saw you open
Yeah,
your
I
mouth.
was just gonna say that I think that from what I've heard, and I have to say, a lot of the information that I know, is not my information. I don't have the experience, but I've been listening to, for instance, the Self-Publishing Show with Mark Dawson and James Blatt, Joanna Penn. Those are some podcasts I've been listening to, and they're talking about traditional publishers wanting you to have a certain number of people on your email list before they will consider publishing you.
And that's what Jennifer was saying,
yeah. Yeah, I haven't heard about the Twitter followers. I've heard about the email list being the big thing.
All I've ever heard is they want you to have an established platform, right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, it went right to having a Twitter and followers.
And it's probably part of it, but yeah, I think the gold nugget for them is the email list.
So Jen, you're saying Twitter doesn't really work as far as selling books, but that people should probably have one as just part of their platform, or what are you saying?
If you like
bother
it. If you like it. I'm saying don't stress out about it.
Yeah.
Like if this is like hard for you, then forget Twitter. But and if you want to go on and follow everybody that follows you, you go right ahead. You do you, but don't do it thinking that this is going to be the golden ticket to you becoming a bestseller.
Yeah.
It's not. I just do not believe it's going to happen. The people that possibly are selling books that way, let's say like Karen Kingsbury, she's got a huge following, but no matter where she is, it's her name. It's not the platform. So she might be like, she's got a Twitter and an Instagram. So she might be peppering her new releases all over, but it's because she's Karen Kingsbury and these people love her and they're following her for that. Not because it has any sort of magic in that platform.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and I agree with what Tina said. I've heard that too. I went to a writing conference when I was kind of on the edge of like traditional self, and that kind of helped push me over the edge to self, even though it was a traditional publishing kind of a conference. And they were like all about that you have to have this many followers. If you don't have 2,000 followers, don't even try to pitch your book to us and blah, blah. And I was like, if I have that many followers, if I have that many on my newsletter, why do I need you? And we talked about this at a fire last night. Tina and I were blessed last night to be able to go to another person's fire and hang out. And she is an aspiring children's book author. Her husband's an illustrator. And she was saying how sad she was because everything she reads says that the book companies want to pick the only illustrator. She goes, and I really want to do it with my husband. We're like, do it with your husband. Like, why are you not self-publishing? So like, and then another gentleman joined us who someone had said, have you met so-and-so? He's a Christian author too. And I'm like, wow. So there's like 4 or 5 of us that are here, it's like super cool. And so we just all hung out and talked, and we were able to like kind of like talk about all this kind of stuff. And talked about the whole platform thing and about how if you have a newsletter with that many people, why do you need a traditional publisher? They're just wanting you to do some of their work, in my opinion. If I have 2,000 people on my my mailing list, then I can start to sell for myself. I can do this myself. And I know
So-
Rhonda said that she doesn't like, or was it you, Jamie? You did, Jamie, that you just don't want to do it. And we'll have to probably talk about that later too. But this woman as well said that she didn't know like that if she would want to do the marketing, but
She
it's a
said
business.
she doesn't even know how to use Facebook. So I think
Yeah.
part of it is a little bit intimidating
Yeah.
to suddenly be told that you need to go do all this social media stuff.
Well,
But
I think it's really interesting because just in the course of this conversation, what I've been thinking is like, I never really thought about like, well, just do the stuff that you like. I don't know why it just never occurred to me. Like Rhonda said, so if I can find the hamburger patties, to use her example, that find the one that I like and just only do that, well, then that suddenly makes the whole thing seem a whole lot less overwhelming. Because if you're doing the thing that you like or enjoy, or at least can hold your nose and get through, and not worrying about all that stuff that just makes it seem like, why am I wasting my time trying to make a Pinterest board or something?
Right.
Then it suddenly makes it like I can do a platform.
The only
Wait,
caveat that I would
hang
say,
on. I'm sorry, Jen. Jennifer, Jamie, you do not like Pinterest? Is that what you're saying?
I like Pinterest for recipes, Rhonda. I like it to like save recipes. The rest of it, I don't know. I'm not
Jamie
as
does
crafty
not
as
seem
you
like a
are.
Pinterest person to me, and like that has not shocked me in the least bit, like at
No.
all. Like, so the one caveat that I would have to just argue against what we've been saying, because I completely 100% believe in what we've just been talking about, is that you also have to figure out where your readers are. And what I have
Yeah.
learned through my marketing, what little marketing I've done so far, is that my peeps are on Facebook and they are 65 plus. Those are the people that love my books and love me. And so the 65 plus crowd, they're not on Twitter. They are probably on Pinterest. So I probably should spend a little bit more time thinking about that. Possibly on Instagram, but probably not. And my favorite, I really like Instagram, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give up Instagram. I like it, so I'll just keep doing it.
Which
And
is ironic because Graham is right in the title, so you would think that little Graham is
Right.
would
I
be
know.
heading right over there.
So when we have
Oh,
our other
no.
episodes,
That was grown worthy.
we can teach you a couple of things that we can teach and how to, like, there are some ways to cross promote, like if you really hate to do it. I'm not a big fan of those, but you know what, do you? And so, but for me, like I've kind of gotten tired of Facebook but here's what I do with Facebook. Because when I go on, I have like 100 notifications. I'm not even kidding, because I'm an admin for a bunch of different people's pages to help them, which I probably need to back out of that. I go on, I check through my notifications. I never look at the feed. So if I don't respond to anything you guys have put up, because I haven't seen it, I go through the notifications and then I go and I do my author stuff, because I know that that's part of my job, because part of what we do is marketing. And one of the things that Maria said on here, and she said that, she said that most of her sales and marketing is done through Twitter. She's made a few sales, but that's not what I was looking for. Anyway, she said that she had no idea how much of being an author is marketing. And it's true.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said to our friend at the fire last night, this is a business. Like, you want to make money from it, right? So it's a business.
Mhm.
You would never, ever start a small business and think that you wouldn't have to learn some things. You would never think that, because, and no, I don't care what business you start, you would have to have a Facebook page. I don't care if you're a little corner ice cream shop. The one by me, a little corner ice cream shop, had like 10,000 followers because they started this thing where they put a name on the board and they get a free, if your name is that, you get a free ice cream cone, and they put it on Facebook every day. They had like 10,000 or more followers because of that one thing. And people flock there because they get a free ice cream cone. They're bringing the rest of their 5 other people in their family and paying for their cones, but they're getting, so what I'm
Some
saying is
people are
that,
driving an hour to get their
Yeah.
free ice cream cone.
Not me though,
Their
because they
name is
never
on the
have
board.
Rhonda.
I'll request
Never.
Rhonda for you. They're really
You
nice.
can go on there and say, you never put my name on there. And people have done that and they put their name on there.
So
And
anyway,
I just want to go back to what you said about knowing your audience.
mhm.
This is part of the conversation we had last night with this lady who has 7 children's books that she's written, and her husband wants her husband to do the illustrations. And so for her, Pinterest would be a great platform because she could put the pictures. because it's very visual on Pinterest, and children's books are very visual. They have all these pictures, and so that would be a great way for her to build a platform.
And
Hmm.
some of her books are educational, and she is a homeschooling mom. And all of you that are homeschooling moms, how many of you have gone on there and used Pinterest to find things? I mean, I know even when my kids were little, I would go into Pinterest and find coloring pages and things that I could just print out. And I know that
Yep.
there is another Christian, I heard on another podcast, another Christian children's book author that uses Pinterest, that they take their illustrations from their books, take all the color off and put it up as a PDF, and people download them to color. Then they go buy the book because it goes with the book. Genius.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's really about figuring out who you are, who your market is, and where your market is hanging out. For me, my market is for sure hanging out at Facebook, probably Pinterest, and I'm going to be looking at that.
Yep, and that's a great place to stop. I think we've covered our topic for today.
Probably.
And I'm excited for next week because I do feel motivated to start looking into this a little bit more. I really have been avoiding it, and that is my number one reason for not doing it so far. So
And next week we're going to talk newsletters. We're going to start with the biggie because that's
good,
the most
because that
So-
is a huge brick in front of my face.
I just made
so-
that decision.
Oh,
I guess
okay.
I'm in charge.
Okay. Well, good one.
Princess
Okay.
Jennifer has now become the queen.
I heartily endorse that decision.
Yes.
You know, so we're 50-50 if either of you punks disagree.
I
but
completely agree.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's the number one thing. Yep.
All right. So shall we move on to the feeding of the backs?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, what we do is before we start the podcast every week, we write for 15 minutes. Today we use 5 prompt words, and that's what we usually do. And so we wrote for 15 minutes and try to get all those words in. So let's see how we did. All of our feedback is going to be positive too, because it was a sprint. It wasn't an edited piece. So who would like to go first? How about Tina?
Oh,
just
good.
do-
I just like to tear the Band-Aid right off all in one.
Yeah.
Me too.
That's my philosophy on life. Okay, here we go. Things at camp meeting went well on the first day. Arousing him about abiding in the vine left Sharon feeling 10 feet off the ground and floating in the clouds. Oh, I should tell you the words. See, Jennifer usually goes first and knows to do that. So, okay, rabid, abiding, download, books, and fork. Okay, so let me start over. Things at camp meeting went well on the first day. Arousing him about abiding in the vine left Sharon feeling 10 feet off the ground and floating in the clouds. This was followed by a butter pecan waffle cone from the snack bar right after the service, and the fellowship of old friends anew. This is my favorite week of the year, Sharon thought, as she made her way back to her tent around midnight. As she pulled the zipper back in her tent, a smell from the bowels of hell met her nostrils. Her
Wow.
eyes, already adjusted to the darkness, saw a black figure with a white streak down its back rustling through a bag of her marshmallows.
Oh, no.
She began to back away. The animal turned to face her. Was it the marshmallows, or was he foaming at the mouth? She wasn't about to find out. She turned and ran back to Tina's campsite, where earlier they had been sitting around the fire and Tina showed her how to download a free copy, Searching for Anna she'd received by sending up the Jennifer Carl Tonks newsletter. She figured she could read just as easily in a chair by the fire as she would have in her warm, cozy sleeping bag. She sat on the comfiest looking chair, but something sharp stabbed her. She squealed and jumped up, whispering an apology to Tina and her family asleep in the travel trailer. She looked down at the chair, but saw nothing. She reached her hand down and found the culprit, a clear plastic fork that hadn't made its way to the trash. Sharon tossed the fork into the fire and settled into a good night of reading. That is, as long as no possibly rabid creatures found their way to this campsite.
Yay.
That was so good.
I love the marshmallow rabies.
Yeah.
I
And
do
I
have to say, though, I do not endorse the throwing of plasticware into a campfire. As an American heritage girl, I must say I hardly dissuade that sort of activity. Although if I were there, I probably would be too chicken to say something.
So Tina, do you have skunks and bats down there?
I have smelled a couple skunks.
Isn't
Uh-oh.
nature wonderful?
And a few years back when my dog was still alive and we would take her down there, she would get skunked occasionally
Oh,
because we would leave her outside in her crate at night.
Poor little skunks. They like are so hated, but they're really kind of cute. I think bats are cute too, though. So perhaps something
Yeah,
is
there's something wrong with
awry.
you. Yeah, there's something wrong with you.
well,
Peppy
Jamie,
loved
did you write
you.
about bats? Jamie, did
that?
you write about bats?
I did not write about bats.
I just have to
Well-
say, I thought I used the word books, but I actually didn't use the word books.
Oh,
Aww.
I didn't even notice. I was so wrapped up in
I
it.
used the title of a book, but I didn't say the word book, and I was like,
Oh.
oh,
Yeah. That was
Well,
my
it was-
favorite part.
Yes,
really? Why?
you're part of Jennifer's platform.
That's, yeah.
Yes, yes. Everyone should start a podcast immediately as part of building your platform. Just kidding. Okay, so is that a hint for me to go next, Rhonda?
Yes.
Okay, I will tell you, this is from my upcoming series, Callahan Capers, featuring Frank Fargo and Moxie Callahan. I'm writing with these characters just so that I can get to know them better as I'm drafting these stories and editing. So in this particular incarnation of these two, they are married. So if you have any concerns, they are married in this story, even though that is not the case currently as I write them. Okay, so this is sometime in the future. Well, their future, because the stories are set early 2000. Okay. How can you read that stuff, Callahan? Fargo said, flicking the front of the hardback Moxie had propped on her stomach. His tone was disgusted, but Moxie saw the playful glint in his eye. I mean, what is that book? 6,000 pages long? Only 728, actually, Moxie said, returning his salty demeanor with a professorial one. And I can read this stuff because I'm making a concerted effort to renew my mind. Far as I can tell, ain't nothing wrong with your mind, except for maybe the fact you'd want to spend a glorious summer day in Michigan cooped up in here reading books. It's either this or my old reading fare, which mostly consisted of stories about rabid dogs or children coming back from the dead as murderous zombies. Fargo crossed the window and twisted the blinds open. Moxie threw her hands up and rubbed her eyes. Dracula awakens, Fargo muttered. Honestly, Callahan, you could use some sun. You're as droopy as a neglected houseplant. Don't you want to jump up from there and take a ride in the fair lane? Great day for top-down cruising. Moxie sighed. I'll go as long as Mr. Dumas is welcome to ride along. What do you mean by dragging a third wheel along on our date? Mr. Fargo, she said, addressing him the way she would have done long ago when she was still under his employ. You know as well as I do that you're going to bump into some other Ford fanatic and I'm going to be left to my own devices. Well, I don't care what you say, Fargo said, and then brought his feet together and clasped his hands behind his back, as though in imitation of an arrogant schoolteacher or a severe butler. I shall not abide you lugging around that giant tome, he said in a haughty accent. And with that, Frank left the room. Moxie was flabbergasted. Surely, she thought, Frank couldn't mean he was going to continue to insist she abandon her book. Though Fargo often teased her about not letting her have her way, things always seemed to roll around back to Moxie being indulged her every desire. She was just about to get up and find out where he disappeared to when he came back into the room, a ribbon-wrapped box in his hand. Here you go, Callahan. Happy early birthday. My birthday is 8 months away, she said, taking the present anyway. He ignored the remark as she knew he would and simply stared at her smilingly as she pulled the ribbon apart and lifted the top of the box. When she saw the contents, she gasped. A Kindle! The words came out as a squeal. Sure, now you can download all of your highbrow literature, and when I pull up to the curb to chat up the other fellas, they can envy me my dame and her being equipped with all the latest in modern technology. I'm sure making me deliriously happy did not make the list of your deciding factors, Moxie said, looking at him with raised eyebrows. Didn't even make the top 20, Fargo said. Then, smiling himself, he bent down to kiss Moxie gently on the lips. But you're feeling particularly delirious and especially thankful is a pleasant bonus, which may work to my advantage. Perhaps we can reschedule our cruise for a bit later this afternoon.
Yay. I love that you have them married. Is that like the long-term plan for the series?
Did I tell you that?
No, she said she was just experimenting.
Oh, I missed that part. I'm totally shipping that relationship, just saying.
I
love it.
love the whole Sybil Shepherd, Bruce Willis vibe going on.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love that show. Oh my word. I'm so excited.
Awesome.
I love it.
My biggest question is how in the world did you get so many words in the 15 minutes?
Yes. No kidding.
Oh my gosh. Like, it's like you were just mental telepathy. Did you see that thing about the telepathic computers? Just, you think it and the computer writes it?
Yes.
Oh.
I feel like that's what happened.
Well, it's not been happening much lately. Although when I write these characters, it seems to come pretty easily, which is super encouraging. But I will
That's
also say
exciting.
that I write every day, and so when we talk about the glowing brain thing, because I write daily, and even though I come nowhere near my 1,000 words a day, which is discouraging, I am writing every day, and so I think that when I sit down to write, it's not as much of a struggle as it would be otherwise.
And I can see the opposite. Since I haven't been writing, it was a struggle for me today to really get into that creative space and like, because mine's just words. It's not great, but they're words, and hopefully I put them together in a way that makes a little bit of sense. So yeah,
Well, let's hear and we'll judge.
right. Okay, you ready to move on? Okay, all right. Stick a fork in me. I'm done. The colloquialism, punctuated with a slow Southern drawl, was music to Mabel's ears. After days trapped in a conference full of rabid book publishing executives, hungry for the title of Mr. or Mrs. Important, genuineness was not on the schedule for the weekend, apparently, and it was beginning to grate on Mabel's nerves. She thought she'd signed up for a week of learning and discussion on books, not a competition for King of the Hill. Mabel could not abide large egos, but trapped as she was, abiding was her only choice. But this little Southern old lady broke the mold of the other conference attenders, and Mabel felt herself drawn to her like a moth to a campfire, and Mabel craved the warmth the old woman was emanating. What do you mean you're done? Mabel asked as she sat down next to her soon-to-be friend. The woman waved her hand in the air in a circular motion. With all this, dear, I'm downright done with all this tomfoolery. One speaker says that print books are on the comeback. The next says if you can't download your novel, no one's going to buy it. Hogwash, I say. Which is hogwash? Mabel asked. The first speaker or the second? Both. The little old woman's jowl jiggled with delight as she slapped her hands against her thighs. There ain't a soul here that knows a darn thing about my genre, and it shows. Can you believe someone asked me how I balance my faith with my romance writing without offending other Christians? I just smiled sweetly and said, bless your heart. You haven't read any of my work, have you? Faith. Mabel should have known it was too good to be true. A beacon of light in this otherwise miserable conference. She wasn't a light. She was a zealot. And Mabel didn't have patience for zealots.
Jennifer, I didn't know
I
your
love her
princess was a
jiggling
Southern
jowl.
belle. Yeah.
What did you say, Rhonda?
I said I knew you were a princess, but I didn't know you were a Southern belle princess.
My family is all from Missouri. There wasn't quite a Missouri accent. It was kind of a really bad fake one, but I grew up, actually, I was in first grade and they wanted to put me in speech therapy. And my mom's like, what? And so they're like, there's just something off with the way she talks. So I think we need to maybe work it out before it becomes a big problem. And then, so my mom's like, well, all right, I'll come in next week and we'll sit and talk about it. Well, the very next day, my grandma came to school to pick me up and they're like, never mind. We get it.
Yep.
I was saying wash instead of wash and things like that. And if I'd have said britches, it probably would have been more obvious. It was just the little words that I kind of caught from my grandparents. But yeah.
Mhm.
Just real quick, my daughter had debate camp yesterday, and it was a pleasure to sit in and judge a debate from some nationally ranked kids, and it was amazing. But anyway, this one kid was like, when he would say, is my judge ready? It was so the epitome of Southern charm. He like extended his little hand and he was all like, I'm like, this is like Southern gentleman, like from, like you if you just were to do a
Louisiana.
caricature. It was so charming. I'm like, oh yes, I'm very ready, and it was really great. It
Was his
really
name
kind of fun.
Atticus Finch? Because that's the first thing I thought of, like a Southern
No, but
accent.
his name was Finn. No, his name was Merc. Some name that was a little difficult for me to decipher because his handwriting was kind of scribbly. But he was a very nice young Southern gentleman. It's very charming.
Did you introduce him to your daughter? Because that would have been my next thing.
Oh,
You
I've
have
got
a
a
single
story,
daughter?
but I can't say it on the podcast. You'll have to stick around and listen to my story after. Not about this kid, but it's funny.
Oh, okay.
I have to say I loved her jiggling jowls.
Yeah.
Like that was my I don't know why. That was my
Uh-huh.
favorite part.
And I really want this to continue into a contemporary because Jennifer hasn't written about a lost female character. Like all of her female characters have been pastors' daughters, and I would really like to see how she writes a woman trying to wrestle with issues of faith. So I would like to see more of this character.
Sarah's a little lost, but more in the fact that she just feels like God's given up on her. Like she still believes in God, but she feels like she's like, so yeah, I haven't. You're right. So
Because this person is actually fleeing from the light. That's a different altogether.
yeah, totally different. So, well, thank you guys. I really just thought it was garbage, but you feel a little bit better about it. So,
Mm.
All right, what do you
Yeah,
got
it's
for us,
not
Rhonda?
garbage.
Well, I'll tell you what my favorite line in Jennifer's was.
Oh.
Okay. Stick a fork in me. I'm done. Mary Beth cried. Raise your hands over her head. The imaginary trophy she mimed was approximately the size of the Stanley Cup. A little dramatic, don't you think? I rolled my eyes at her. It was only an easy one, the first page of the book. They gave you 14 numbers to start with. Don't be jelly at my amazing Sudoku powers. You'll get here soon. While patting me on the shoulder, she flipped to the next puzzle she had downloaded. Do you like logic puzzles? No, I don't like puzzles. Books are my thing. Not even crosswords? They are the abiding standard in the puzzle world. I've never heard of a reader who didn't do crosswords. She slid closer to me and opened up to another page. My mind flooded with regret for asking Rosie to hire her. Look here. First clue, 5 letters. Disease causing animals to foam at the mouth. Surely you know that one. Mary Beth elbowed me, prodding me to answer. Mary Beth, when your break is over, would you come back here? You'll need to learn how to clean the grease trap today. Rosie called from the kitchen. She smiled at me from the small window between the prep table and the dining room, a rabid look of glee in her eyes. The end.
Yay! I like how you used the answer to the crossword
Oh, yeah.
as not like that was really fun. How the word rabid is there.
Yeah, that was.
and I love that
these
you like
characters.
used it also that the person was rabid, like that that that's the word of the crossword, but then you're like making that person. I love that. That was
Yeah,
great.
it's
Thank
really
you.
good. And
Thank
your
you.
characters are living almost instantly. I don't know what it
Mhm.
is about how you write them.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, good. Magic. Tinkerbell dust.
Must be.
Okay. All right. So, considering how short my piece was and how hard it was for me to write it, and Jen complained about that too, let's go to our accountability corner.
Oh, great
So-
transition.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you. Well, since you spoke up so quickly,
Oh no.
you know.
Well, I'm at camp meeting and I've done nothing. I haven't done, didn't take my laptop out until this morning when I got here to get ready for the podcast.
Mhm. Yep.
So I need to get back into writing every day.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, writing, I mean, writers are workers too. So, do you think that you're okay with this vacation or do you feel like you're slacking?
honestly, I feel like I needed the vacation because I was starting to just get a little bit lackadaisical.
Mhm.
And I just think, like, for example, sitting around the campfire last night talking to other authors kind of has me getting a little excited again when I was just kind of feeling a little blah about the whole thing.
Mhm.
So I think I needed the vacation, but I really do need to get back in when I get home to get myself a set schedule every day. I mean, I'm sleeping really well now. I got most of my health issues under control. The only thing I have to do coming up is go to a wedding in September for a few days. So I think it's time for me to buckle down.
Okay.
So I need to write every day, 500 words at least, and I need to spend at least an hour editing my book.
Okay.
Those are
We'll
my-
ask.
Okay.
Tina, do you have a deadline for being done with your edits? Because sometimes a deadline will
September
hold you
12th.
for the whole thing.
I was going to publish on September 12th. So I'm going to have to sit down and rethink the whole thing.
Yeah, because the big picture goal might be September 12th. I'm just keeping that date because it's one you mentioned. But then you have to be to the halfway point by whatever day. And then that means you have to have the first 10 chapters done by whatever day, right? And so
Yeah.
maybe having those little deadlines to meet that we can hold you accountable for will help be a little bit more motivation to actually do it. Because we've all been kind of kind of loosey goosey with our like deadlines for having stuff done. You know,
Right.
myself
So what's yours,
included.
Jamie?
My deadline is to have my first Fargo Callahan book. Well, I don't want to go that far in the future. So I will commit to having the first 5 chapters edited by 2 weeks. Wait, I forgot. We have the Christmas story. So never mind, because my deadline has to be getting the Christmas story done because our deadline is the 29th, which is what, 4 days from now?
Yeah.
And I am not close to the finish line. Jennifer, look at
Mhm.
Jennifer's face.
I know. I know.
So,
Okay, can I change mine?
so
I forgot to.
that is my goal because that is a priority.
I echo that.
Oh, and also to work my office hours. But okay. Well, we'll have to talk about that because I have to take my kids to a camp next week, whatever. But the point is, yes, that's my goal because the 29th is a hard deadline on that story.
Okay. Well, Jen, what's going on in your little corner right now?
Well, first I want to read Maria shared in the chat. She said, I'm still plugging away at Camp Nano, really enjoying my project. It's been a lot of fun. Been a bit behind, but done quite a bit today. I'm 100 words away from 40K. So pretty.
So
Wow.
awesome.
Great job,
I want to make
Maria.
sure and share that during my turn because there'll be no clapping during my turn. Other than that. So, okay. So I feel like it's always life getting in the way, and I feel like it's always me, and I feel like that maybe I just can't handle when there are bumps in the road as well as everybody else. But it's been a week for me for sure, and I've had no time to write, and I mean maybe I did, but I chose to sleep instead. So I have got to get that Christmas story done. I have got to get that huge weight that is around my neck that I feel like is making me drown. I got to get it done. And I don't know why it's such a problem for me. I cannot get into that story. I can't. And so part of me thinks that maybe I just need to throw the whole idea out, throw the whole fresh idea. Just sit down and write a story about 2 people and just see what happens and forget my original idea because this is ridiculous that I can't get a short story out. That doesn't even sound like me. So that's my only goal is to get that done because we, like Jamie said, we have 4 days and I am the biggest loser and I'm
Well, it's
I don't
not
think
like
that's true because I'm sorry, Jamie.
No, go ahead because I'm sure you're going to say exactly what I was going to.
Because Rhonda's grandma just died, and that threw her off track, and she didn't write either. So, I didn't write because I was having fun at camp meeting, and I didn't want to like go off by myself with my computer. I wanted to, fellowship and stuff. So, I mean, you might have everyone's got bumps, but yours are a little bit bigger than the rest of us, and maybe Rhonda's too. You guys have some big bumps right now.
Well, and I will add to that, in spite of that, you still did a book launch and you're still keeping up with your social media obligations. And so it's just that this little story thing is possibly ill-timed for you. And maybe that's something we need to talk about in our business meeting. And maybe we need to discuss the future of this little project. Maybe this is for Christmas 2021. I don't even know, but it's something that we should possibly see how that works for you because this is not your only iron in the fire, right? You are actively publishing and now you're on a timeline to get your sequels out, aren't you?
Yes.
Do you have deadlines for that? Like what are your goals for that?
Well, because of problems with editors, this book was supposed to have been out 2 months ago. So that pushes everything back. So idealistically, I would like to put out book 3 within 3 months, but book 3 is the one that's in so much trouble. So again, that might be part of what's holding me back with the other one is because in the back of my mind, I'm like, but my bread and butter is sitting back here and needs work. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Not that I don't want to do this. I really do want to do this, but I almost feel like it is stretching me in a way that like, I'm distracted on every level. So if I could just get this one done, I could forget about it and I can go back to what I need to do. But this what I need to do, I think, is what's keeping me from getting this little one done. So yeah, we probably need to talk about it in the business meeting and try to figure out what's wrong with me or whatever. So as of right now, my goal is to get that short story done, and then I got to get back on to book 3. Got to do it.
Rhonda, what's your goals?
Well, I do need to finish up my Christmas compilation And I am all for having a discussion about that when we're done. And that's really the only goal I can set for myself right now. The 29th is Monday, right? Or Sunday? So
It's Monday.
Monday. All right. So the other goal is just to be in office hours every day. There should be nothing stopping me from doing that next week. So
I just
That's all.
would also rats. Oh, Rhonda, I want to know about your so close to being ready to publish. Was it a nonfiction that you were having some trouble with formatting?
Yes. And that one got put on the back burner simply because it slipped my mind for about a week because I was so into the Christmas story.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't climbed back up the list yet. I was
Gotcha.
just talking to somebody at the museum yesterday about it because they are looking forward to it. And anyway, I told them it would be probably another month or so. But I really need to look at my
Planning.
calendar,
Yeah.
my planning calendar. Yeah.
Rhonda, when we're off camera, let's talk about the formatting. I want to talk to you about, but that's an off-camera conversation.
Yeah.
Is we go on forever, but yeah, don't let me forget because
Mhm.
can't brain. So
All right.
Yep.
And so we talked about discussing this stuff after the podcast because we won't be recording a postcast today, right? That's,
Mhm.
we want
Right.
to maybe announce that. So we're gonna
Yep.
skip out on the postcast for 1 week.
Yep.
and I appreciate you guys being willing to do that because it's just been. I did submit something, but I'm not here right now like that. So I appreciate you guys.
Yep. No problem. All right. Well, I guess that we are wrapping this up now. So I'm sure everybody's already put it in their bujos that next August 9th, that is what, not next week, but the following week, we will be podcasting from there on forward on Fridays, August 9th. So jot that down. All right. So anyway, this concludes the Christian Indie Writers Podcast. So until next week, may your pen be prolific, your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ.
Bye now.
Bye everyone.